Hi, this is John Blake, and what I'm going to go over with you in this video is the secrets of the world's best business-to-business sales systems. So I'm going to uncover, based on my 23 years of research, study, and teaching and practice, exactly what it is that represents in my experience and in the research that I've done and the study that I've done, what is the best elements of the world's top sales systems, the most effective sales systems. These are the systems that work time and time again, and they work with the widest selection of salespeople that you can put them in front of. So just briefly, what I'm going to do to start off with is just go over who this is for, because often you say business to business and people say, well, what's that? You know, does my sales fit into that? So when I say business to business, I mean wholesale representatives. So sales representatives are people who sell advertising, real estate, people who sell services to businesses, financial services, mortgage sales, software sales, selling to mining companies, because there's lots of companies that are selling services to mining companies, selling consulting services, and that could, perhaps even include funerals services, accountants, and lawyers. And so this list is not limited to these people, but it should give you an understanding of who this particular approach is for. So another good question is, okay, well, what makes the world's top sales systems great? What makes them the best? Okay, so what I'm going to do is just quickly go through this particular list. So subtlety is a big one. Essentially, the sales systems, the best sales systems, should simply feel like a business conversation between two business equals. And there are obviously some elements that go into creating that context, because that context can be engineered, but that's the way that that's the feeling that the prospect should have, and also the salesperson, for that matter, is that it's actually a conversation between two business equals. Stealth. So it shouldn't sound salesy. If it sounds salesy and the person detects that they're being sold to, there's a huge amount of resistance that comes up. So by virtue of the fact that salespeople in general don't have a particularly good reputation, we need to be mindful of that, and we need to create a situation where subtlety and stealth is there. Congruence. When I say congruence, I mean that you need to sound. You need to have the belief in what it is that you're doing, and you need to sound credible. And the way that you do that is to be congruent. So congruent is when your body language, the tone of your voice, and the conviction in your dialogue and in your language is very, very apparent. Great personnel. A great sales system is nothing without great people. And you can put someone who isn't a particularly outstanding salesperson but has a great attitude in front of a good system, and you'll get a good result from them. So great personnel is important. Non-transparent. Again, we kind of alluded to that before, but if it is transparent that there is a salesy type angle to what's going on, then again you're going to encounter resistance, and your effectiveness of the system will be compromised. Linear versus non-linear. So linear means that there is a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Now the best sales systems have a linear sequence, but they also, if you have a sales system, you need to train or allow for the fact that things may not always go in a linear fashion. There needs to be the flexibility to perhaps sometimes zigzag if it's required. So that's important. Brevity versus longevity. So we need to also train within a good sales system to identify when the person is ready to go. Often you can talk yourself out of a sale if the person's ready to go, and the salesperson won't identify it and keeps crapping on about features and benefits and needs to identify at that point that the person's ready to go. Especially if they're an impatient type A type personality, that all needs to be built into the sales system. It needs to lead people to action. So it needs to lead your prospect to action. It needs to motivate them to action, and it can be done in a powerful way, but the powerful way needs to be done in the context of there being a a powerful enough business case for the person to act. Okay, so that is a big part of it. It needs to make a powerful recommendation without being pushy. So pushy, by definition, would suggest that you're actually trying to get someone to do something that they don't want to do. Okay, so a good sales system will identify a need in the person that you're talking to and help them feel as if they came up with the decision to move forward. So a good sales system will have the effect of the prospect coming to the decision themselves that this is the right thing to do. They'll feel like they're making the decision themselves. Very, very important point. It will be scripted, and often there's some resistance around scripting. People say, well, I don't want it to be scripted, I don't want it to be contrived, or, I'd much rather it be free flowing. Well, you can make a scripted presentation powerful by customizing it to the individual and by training it. And when you customize it and when you train it, it sounds natural and it will flow, because in the absence of having a scripted presentation that makes use of powerful words that have a particular effect on the person that you're talking to, is that if you don't have that, then you will be compromised. So that the whole idea, that the definition of the word script is words in sequence that make sense. And people say, well, I don't want to be scripted, I'm just going to go in and wig it. I'm just going to do my thing, and I'm just going to kind of make it up on the fly and just kind of freestyle kind of thing. But the thing with that, or the problem with that, is that you're still using words in sequence that make sense, but they're just not very good ones. So a good scripted process will make use of powerful words, but it will also avoid words that have the exact opposite effect. So words can be powerful in two ways. They can be powerful in being persuasive, but they can also be powerful in creating fear, which subtracts from the possibility of someone buying something. So it's important to make that point. Okay, so what also needs to happen in a good sales system is selection. So often some of the biggest or most powerful things you can do in your sales system is selecting the people that you want to put in front of it. So who is your ideal client? Often people know who their ideal client is, but they're not taking specific steps to actually attract that particular ideal client. Then there's the idea of the Dream 50. So if you had a magic wand and you could get 50 of the best clients, who would they be? Have you made that list? It's a good list to make. It can make a massive difference. The other thing is determine the motivation. So if you've got a particular type of person that would constitute your ideal client, are they motivated as an industry, as an individual? Are they actually motivated to make a decision, or is it just, or are you going to be dragging them kicking and screaming across your sales process? You want someone who is in a situation where they are motivated to do something. So we'll just go into this in slightly more detail. So ideal client, traditional versus target lead generation. So there will be people that will come to you that will make up one prong of your sales attack. They're kind of like your bread and butter, and then there's the targeted people that you want to go after. So you need to have both. You can't just rely on one or the other. So it's essentially a dual effort. The Dream 50. So this was made very initially popular by David Ogilvy when he set up his advertising company in New York. He made a list of the top 50 people that he wanted as clients, and he went after them. And in the end, he got all of them because he just didn't give up. And he kept rocking up with relevant reasons why they should work with him, and